Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Summer is arrived, and everyone is packing their games into the luggage and get ready for a trip or go to the cabin and play games. So let's see what kind of games you can pack in a carry-on bag. This is a regular carry-on bag that you can put in any fine company, except if you are in Europe. And let's see what we can pack. To start, we start with a two-player only game. Well, actually, this is says 2 to 9. This is Noir. The games here on the box says 2 to 9, but I can tell you I always play with two people and have a lot of fun. This is kind of a tactical, abstract game. Someone is the murderer, someone is the detective. The murderer needs to flip cards and kill some specific number of people to win the game. The detective needs to figure out who's the murderer is and capture. Lots of fun. Then we have Hooky. This is essentially clues stripped out by all the useless rules like roll and move, all that kind of stuff. Here you are dealing a deck of cards with all the letters of the alphabet to all the players, and players needs to figure out what are those letters and who has which letter. Additionally, you have some letters in the center of the table that nobody has. And the way you do is by essentially asking questions, saying a word, and a person will tell you a number. And the number indicates how many letters of the words are present. But the tricky part is if, for example, you say grass and the player says 3, you don't know is three different letters or is a letter that is repeated twice. For example, the letter S. Very, very difficult, but it's so engaging, so crunchy. So perhaps if you are getting in a cabin high in the mountain and the weather is not so good, you have times and in the morning to crunch a very difficult game to solve, Hooky is the one for you. Then we have Fruit Balls. Fruit Balls is a card collection, set collection game. That is very interesting because you want to gather fruits and you can do by doing 2 action per turn, playing cards. And then if you put cards in a column and the column surpasses by 2 or more, the adjacent column, you gather those fruits. But you don't want to collect too many fruits. If you have more than 3 different fruits at the end of the game, those will count negative points. Very interesting puzzle, maybe a little bit chaotic with many peoples, but definitely something that gives you clever moments and when you can manipulate the market and get very nice scores. Fruit Balls. If you are a large group of people, you want to play Valbara. Valbara is a card-driven game. You have 2 decks of cards. One is essentially there are some scenery cards you want to collect to score points. And the way you do it is by placing 1 card from your hand. Every player has an identical deck, but in the way you draw cards are a little bit different. And all the cards are identical. They have a number and they have a power. Lower power or lower number goes first, but the power is not interesting enough. Higher number goes last. Very powerful, but sometimes you cannot make it to do everything you wanted because other people have gone first during their turn. Very, very interesting, very quick. It plays very well, even with 6-player Valbara. And then we have a game that I'm so glad they got a reprint, and this is the Bloody Inn. The Bloody Inn also a card game. This one you have cards with multiple purposes. You can use as for their special power. You can use it to spend and do actions. What you do, you want to get points, and the points are money, and the money can come from you running the inn or getting the money from your customer, essentially killing them and get the money. And if you kill someone, you need to dispose of it and the police can come. The theme is very gruesome, but it's done in such a nice way that you always laughs. It's not that dark as you think. The Bloody Inn. And we have a party game, just one. Obviously, if you're with lots of friends, you want to have something light and have a laugh and try to have some interaction, see how people think around the table. Just one is a game that does that. You are working cooperative to help someone guessing a word. And when you do that, you need to write one hint or a word that can be easy associated with the word that you want to make the person guess. But multiple people write the same hint, those hints will cancel out and will not be shown to the guesser. So you want to think outside the box, but not too much, otherwise the most obvious hints will not be given. Very interesting game. It's so easy to teach that the best way is to start a round and see how it goes, just one. Then we have a 2-player only game, and this is the Fox in the Forest. This is a trick-taking game, very classic trick-taking game. The higher card wins the trick. But the twist here is that every odd number has a special power. You can change the trump. You can change a card from your hand to the one from the deck, bottom of the deck, things like that. Another twist is that you score points based on how many tricks you have. If you have very little, you score a lot of points. If you have everything, you score a lot of points. In between is where the tricky part is, because you can win some points or none points. So if you see that your opponent is winning so many tricks, and so you can go and shoot for the moon, it's so satisfying getting that one or two tricks that allows your opponent to score essentially zero, and you score more than that. And that is the fox in the forest. Then we have the big shot. This is the Plight version. This is an old game by Randolph. And now we have Plight, a Korean publisher, bringing it back to North America. This is a very interesting game. I really recommend this game to play only a four, although it can be played between 2 to 4 players. But this is a really the perfect 4-player game. It's an auction game where you auction areas on the board, and in a very standard auction, and you also want to balance your money that you spend and the loan that you take to also get some special rewards based on some sort of area of majority. And on top of that, if someone bids or controls some area equally, those cancel out, and essentially the third person wins the area. Very, very interesting mechanic, very interesting and fun auction game. It plays very fast. Something that you play once, you want to play it again. This is the big shot. And then we go to something new, River Woods. River Woods is a time-lane exploration game. Don't let you fool by the cute look. This is quite crunchy. Has a very interesting action selection, like a site. You have your pawn or you have your player. You select which action you want to take. You have 2 pawns that you control, and you explore. You collect tokens and convert those tokens into points. Very interesting and crunchy little game, Riverwoods. And from Plight, we have Rapamine, another 2-player only game. You say, Marco, so many 2-player only game. Am I going to a date if I travel? But sometimes you have friends that they don't last till 4 a.m. to play games with you. You still have energy, and there's only one person willing to spend time with you. And so you need the 2-player only game. This is, though, it's not a game that you want to play at 4 a.m. You want to be very awake and ready, because this is a logic deduction game. Essentially, it's Battleship, but with good rules. You place this shape token here on your board, and your opponents need to figure out where you place them. And the way he does is asking question, or imagine to have a beam of light intercepting your board, and based on where he exit and what color he exit, you can start figuring out which kind of tokens has been attached, which kind of pieces have been touched, and in which angle, and try to figure out the location of the pieces. Very, very nice, very, very crunchy. This is one of the best deduction games you can find in the market, Rapamine. Then we have a 3-player only trick-taking game. In reality, now Oswald have released the 4-player version, but the 3-player trick-taking game, and this is 12 Chip Trick. In 12 Chip Trick, you have playing a trick-taking game with chips. And these chips, you have blue and you have red. The higher chip win the tricks. And when you win the trick, you can choose one of the chips to score. And however, if there are blue and red chips, you are always forced to take the red one. The thing is, if you pass 21 points, you bust. If you bust, you lose the game. So that is it. That's the game. The thing is, it seems very easy, but it's so difficult to master and so crunchy at the table, because essentially after 2-3 turns, you know all the chips that are available. There are 1 to 12. So everyone knows which chip are available, who has what. And they're trying to force other people to win the trick that may be bust, or waiting for the chip that will allow you to survive to the very last run. Very interesting game. I was extremely surprised how good this game is. 12 Chip Trick. Another party game, we have Detective Noir. I'm putting this version because it's the one that's easier to fit in the box. It's an expansion, but it works in the same way. You have a bunch of dictated type of cards, and you are trying to solve a murder. That's the thing. In reality, essentially the player chooses a word, a clue, and the players need to put two cards to convey the same clue. Except one person doesn't know what the clue is, and so needs to play cards kind of randomly, and then needs to justify why they picked that card. If people at the table figure out who's the person that didn't know the clue was, they win the game. Or if that player gets the right word, wins the game. Very nice, excellent game, Detective Club. Archaeology, another card game. In this card game, you are collecting sets, and by exchanging cards with the market, drawing cards, exploring monuments to get more cards. But be careful, if you push your luck a little bit too much, you may have a snowstorm that will blow up your hand of cards. Why you say push your luck? Because when you put a set in front of you, you cannot add more cards on top of those. And set are more valuable if they have more cards. So people tend to hold cards on their hands, but if a snowstorm hits you, you are forced to discard half of your hand. And so there are interesting choices there. You have a tent that allows you to protect you once from the sandstorm, but that not could be enough for you. Very simple, very crunchy. I know it's a little bit difficult to find, but definitely something that you want to check out. Archaeology, the new expedition. And now we have 1902 Melier. What is this game? Not many people talk about these games, although these series of games that usually have a date and something underneath are quite popular in Europe. This is a Euro game, a worker placement game where players are recreating the movie A Trip to the Moon. Exactly, A Trip to the Moon. It's a very classic, there's nothing innovative in terms of worker placement game and rule set. That is really about the theme, and the size is so tiny you can put in a carry-on bag and travel with it. That is why it is in this list, 1902 Melier. Then we have Occasional Meographic. I found the title of this game hilarious, but it's a very nice introductory level tile placement game. It's very similar to Cascadia. You have a river of tiles, you pick one, you put it in front of you. And what you want to do is complete patterns that are available. And the cool thing is that the patterns that you have are put in a sort of stack of cards, and they move along and they change their scoring. So sometimes this pattern scores 2 points, then the next round is going to be 5, and then the next round again 2. So you can plan ahead to score big points. Very, very simple. Maybe too simple if you're watching this video, but definitely something that you want to carry if you're farming with your family, that your family is not really into the hobby, you want something more approachable. Occasional Meographic. Then we have Azure. Azure is an incredible, crunchy, two-player only game, that abstract two-player only game. This game is a race. You want to get to a determined number of points the fastest. And the way you do it is by placing a stone into the grid. The grid changes every time, and the grid gives you some rewards and allows you to get very nice combo throughout the game. That allows you to get incredible good turns and very satisfying turns. Also, I think that I like you can control these gods or creatures that allow you to have the temporary points. But if you lose control of those creatures, you lose those points that you've gathered. And so you can have a big swings, and so you're always on your toes. Very, very fun game, Azure. And now we got to a little pocket game like Schadenfreude. This is a trick-taking game for 3 to 5 players. And it's a very classic trick-taking game in terms of rules, but the twist is the second highest card wins the trick. And when you win the trick, you collect the card that you win the trick and you put in front of you. What happens is that those cards that you have will score you points at the end of each hand. But if you go beyond 41, you lose the game. So you really want to get close to 40, but not go above. And then there's always the thing that the second highest card wins. Very interesting game. It was difficult to find in North America. All has been announced by Asmodee that is going to be brought back to Europe. So look forward to have it again in North America, Schadenfreude. Then obviously you need to have the crew if you go to a trip. This is an easy game to bring, just like a bunch of cards, and you work to complete the mission. The mission also this guy is a trick-taking game, and missions are essentially task. This person needs to win a specific number of tricks. This person needs to win the 9 of a specific color, and the mission can get harder and harder. There are scenarios that you can play, or you can have this version, which essentially you draw a card and decide which scenario you're going to play. This is something, a must-have game in your collection, the Crew. Then we have Yoraku. This is another trick-taking game, but this time we have area control game. In this trick-taking game, whoever wins can decide whether to activate the power or either decide to input troops in the area of the suit that has been won or utilize the action points to manipulate the board. You have also special powers from the chief or your general, and all the areas or all the areas of the map, they change scoring points based on which stage of the game you are. Very quirky, but yet engaging. It's a little bit longer for a trick-taking game, but because you have the area control and attention, you really don't feel how long this game is. You definitely want to try it again. Yuraku. Then we have a little card game from Korea, Cap the Crab. This is a very simple game. You play cards in the center of the table, and those numbers are points, and you stack them as you see here as cups. Then at some point, those stacks gets very juicy, and the only way you can grab it is by using a crab. The thing is, you start with 21 cards in your hand, and every round you select only 3. So you don't really know when the stack of cards will be very juicy to select one crab from your stack and have in your hand ready to grab it. And also you have bottles that lock the stacks. Essentially, nobody can add cards on that stack and no crabs can go. But then you have the octopus that can free that stack and get it to you. But again, the tricky thing is you need to select 3 cards every turn, so you don't really know what opponents are going to play. There's a very mind reading that goes on, and also strategy in terms of when you're going to get the crabs, consider when you're going to be the start player, when you're going to be the last player. Very clever action you can have, and it is so easy to play, yet Cup the Crab. And when everyone is asleep and you are by yourself, well, bring with you For Northwood. For Northwood is a trick-taking game for one person. You essentially are playing against the deck. You utilize special powers of each cards to manipulate your cards and your strengths of your hand to exactly win a specific number of tricks on every turn until eventually you complete the mission. Very fascinating. I'm not a big solo player, but this is in my collection, and that tells you how strong this game is as a solo game for Northwood. Then another little card game, Otter. Was nominated by UKG as one of the best family game, and I assure it is a great family game. This game is a card shedding game, so you race to get it off of your cards from your hand, and the way you do is by satisfying condition on the otters. Usually it's number high, low, even or low, and the suit at the bottom. If you can satisfy one of these 2 conditions, you can play 1 card on that otter. But if you satisfy both, you can keep playing cards. So the trick is how to manipulate your hand to play more cards as fast as possible to have those combos. And one way to do it is by swapping head or tail of those otters. But every time you do that, you need to draw cards from the deck, so your hand gets bigger, but sometimes it's not too bad, or the payback is way greater than drawing 1 card. So you do that. Very, very fast game, very family friendly game, Otter. And finally, we finish with another 2-player only game, and this is Oasis. Oasis is a tag war kind of game. You have Oasis, those are going to be points. You want to win them. And the way you do is by playing animals either in front of you or in your opponents, and those animals have points that have strength, but also have special powers. By doing that, you can also manipulate your opponent's side of things. You can bring animals from your opponents to your side and vice versa. There are special powers that cancel powers of other animals. Very, very quick, very, very quirky, very tactical. And yes, sometimes the luck is involved in this kind of game, but it lasts only 15 minutes, so not too bad. And the art is incredible. And so Oasis, Desperate Oasis, definitely something that I want to have in this little carry-on. And so you have a 22 little, and also not so little, like this guy, card games that you can carry on your luggage so you can go on your airplane without paying extra cost for your big luggage and have fun with your friends. And please let me know in the comments which game you can bring in your carry-on. And if you made it so far, I want to thank you so much. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends. You know the drill. This is not your first YouTube video. Am I right? Thank you very much and see you next time. Ciao.